Hello everyone, I'm John.
And I'm Sandra.
Welcome to the 100th episode of Sailing Not So Bad.
So for this special episode, we've decided to do it a little bit different and take you right to the beginning. So let's get started.
On the 21st of May 2021, Sandra went to work for the last time. We headed to the airport and flew to Bangkok. Two weeks quarantine in a small hotel room in Bangkok drove us both somewhat stir crazy. So, good morning Sandra. What day is it and what's happening?
Good morning! It's the last day in Bangkok.
We took a 12-hour taxi ride from Bangkok to Phuket. When we arrived in Phuket, we needed to relax as well as get on with the boat work. Sandra, so what's happening now? What's happening today?
Well, we came to see our baby out of the water. Her name is Cayman for the moment. It's been prepared for us.
Hi guys, it's the last supper. We're out for dinner tonight, 26th, and blowing some of our last baths and having a meal out. Good morning everybody, 6:20. Sun's coming up on Wednesday, 27th. Sandra is casting off and we're off to Mauritius. What's happening?
I'm spotting land!
The Commodore is pouring champagne because we made it to Mauritius.
Of course, we visited the local fruit, vegetable and spice market, the famous botanical gardens, not forgetting the beautiful powdered blue exotic beaches, and many of the other famous sites we could fit in.
And so we completed our formalities and we've left the dock for the last time in Mauritius. We celebrated our first Christmas at sea and got into the mood early. And we're now on this dock. COVID testing area. That's us. So, welcome to South Africa. Not so bad.
Discovered a beautiful restaurant called 9th Avenue Waterside, which we enjoyed very much, and then again returned for New Year's Eve, where they gladly accommodated us on short notice. We also had a visit from Devi and Krish, our Mauritian friends whom I worked with in Sun City many years ago, and it was a great catch-up. Yes, this is the entrance of the heads as we're approaching much closer. What a beautiful entrance. What a beauty.
After a few days, it was time to move on to Hout Bay, Cape Town. Good morning, campers. It's now later on the 28th of January. And our first guest on board.
Welcome to Cape Town. Welcome to Hout Bay. Fantastic. Congratulations for making it this far.
To sail into Hout Bay, Cape Town, which is Sandra's hometown, was really quite an experience. And of course, to have her brother Billy on board as our first guest was just wonderful. But we also had lots of other guests on board, and Sandra obviously took time to go and see her mother, who was 95 at the time. We also were able to spend some time at her home in Franschhoek. But after 4 months in South Africa, it was time to move on. Well guys, we've decided that it's refreshment o'clock. You can see St. Helena clearly now, and we're making good progress towards it. Yay! Cheers! The trouble with long passages is that people can get bored, and when they get bored they do things. For example, you only have to fall asleep on the couch for 5 minutes. You end up with your toenails painted pink. The Commodore. What am I to do with the Commodore? So that's all good. And we're here in St. Helena, our first port of call in a new country in 2022. We had a lovely time in St. Helena. We met lots of new yachties, we climbed Jacob's Ladder, we went to Napoleon's prison, but all too soon it was time to move on. It's Monday morning. It's a pretty bumpy old night. We've changed the sail plan about, I don't know, more times than I care to think about. As the morning has worn on, the wind has been up a bit if anything. It's now pretty much a solid 20 knots. Okay guys, we're at last parked in Ascension at Long Beach. It's called apparently.
There you go. Here we go.
Oh wow, get that. Are they dangerous?
No.
He looks like you, honey, grumpy. We really enjoyed Ascension Island as well. It's a bit different from St. Helena, but nonetheless, it was a lovely island. We met a new friend, Donovan, another South African, who very kindly gave us a tour around the island and also lent us his car while he was at work. While we were there, it was the late Queen's Jubilee, and we celebrated it right royally. But all too soon it was time to move on, this time to the Canary Islands. San Sebastian de la Gomera. So, Commodore, what's happening now?
We came to watch them cut up the tuna.
As in El Hierro, we hired a car in La Gomera and toured the island. Once again, all too soon it was time to move on again, this time to the more famous island of Tenerife. So campers, we have departed La Gomera very sadly, right on schedule at 8 o'clock. Okay guys, we're in Marina San Miguel, seems to be very nice. just coming up to 8 o'clock on Saturday morning. The Commodore is driving. We've just left the dock and there's no wind at all. If there is any wind, it's going to be dead against us, so we're going to be motoring the whole way.
Hello, Captain. Where are we now?
We're just entering the outer harbour of the marina at Santa Cruz. My brother Jim and his wife Mary came to visit us in Tenerife and Santa Cruz, and we hired a car and toured the island for a week. Once again, all too soon, our time in Tenerife came to an end. My brother Jim and my sister-in-law Mary had to return home, and we had to move on to the island of Gran Canaria. Good morning, guys. It's 9:40 in the morning and we're just leaving Santa Cruz, sadly. Well guys, here we are in Las Palmas Marina. That's Las Palmas, the Gran Canaria Marina. While in Gran Canaria, I took the opportunity to fly home to the UK to see my two grandchildren who I'd never seen. Una, my eldest grandchild, and Monty, my youngest. Hopefully there'll be more, but I also wanted to see my sons and their two lovely wives. Once again we made new friends, but all too soon it was time to say goodbye to them. It was lovely to meet Jan, Myrna and Vic.
Good morning everybody. Today is the 1st of October 2022 and we decided that it's time to move on. So we're sailing along today, Captain. What's up? Where are we going?
We sailed to Lanzarote via the island of Fuerteventura and spent a few nights there on the way. Okay guys, here we are in Marina Lanzarote. That enormous travel lift is the reason we've come here. Okay, so not so bad is back in the water. Okay guys, so now we're parked in Rubicon Marina. We were still waiting for a new rub rail which had been ripped off in La Restinga when we arrived in the Canary Islands to come from Germany. And the anchor's up and we're off. Alright, Commodore? Off. My eldest son Callum just happened to be on holiday in Gran Canaria, and we returned to Gran Canaria to have a brief reunion. Good morning everybody, it is Monday the 21st of November and the engines are running and we're about to go. Here we are, view out the back. The waves are coming but they're not big. Every now and again you get a bigger one. But okay guys, it's now 10:15 and we are now parked in Andella. Here we are.
Yes, unbelievable. We've made it. 20th of December 2022.
Yeah.
And we wanted to be on land for Christmas. And thanks to the team, we made it.
We're here.
I'm a fireball.
We stayed in the British Virgin Islands for just over 2 weeks and thoroughly enjoyed ourselves visiting virtually all the islands before moving on. We moved on to Anguilla, a little known British island.
Hey, Captain, you look very happy. What's up? What's going on?
Well, we had a very nice lunch, then we've been for a swim, and now we're having an LV's world famous rum punch. World famous, no less.
World famous Elvis. Wash his mouth enjoying it.
We celebrated Sandra's birthday on Sandy Island. We moved on from Anguilla to St. Martin. Sandra's friend Liz Marie, another South African, joined us for a tour of the island. We moved on to Saba, a Dutch island where the capital is called the Bottom, before moving on to St. Kitts and Nevis. So, Commodore, what's occurring?
Oh, today's the 8th of February 2023.
Ooh, what does that mean?
And that means that 4 years ago, we decided to tie the not so bad knot.
To celebrate our anniversary, we went out for dinner, and then the next day we took a tour of the island. Then we moved on to Montserrat, where we took another tour. Montserrat was devastated by its own volcano, and half the island is still uninhabitable. We moved on to Antigua for Valentine's Day, and we visited the famous Nelson's Dockyard at English Harbour. We moved on to Dehe, near the north end of Guadeloupe, where we visited the beautiful botanical gardens. But it wasn't long until we moved to the south of the island to Basse-Terre, where it was carnival time. The next day we moved on with our new crew member, Henriette, a young lady from Denmark, and we headed off to the Saints, which is an island group belonging to Guadeloupe, where Carnival was still in full swing. Although we loved the Saints, it was soon time to move on to another country, Dominica. The first thing we found when we went ashore was a beach bar named after the great man himself, Nelson Mandela. Henriette had already been to Dominica and met an American called Paul who lived there, and he agreed to take us all on some hiking trips into the mountains. After a lovely time in Dominica, we moved on to Saint-Pierre in Martinique. Well, here we are, Saint-Pierre, a long way from town. We had a last supper with Henriette before she got on the bus and headed off on her travels on her own. We were sorry to see her go. She had been a lot of fun, and we keep in touch. Saint-Pierre had been devastated by its volcano, and only 2 people in the town survived, one of them a prisoner in this small cell.
We're gonna head from Martinique to Barbados. We're sailing to Barbados. Hey.
We had been invited by my good friend Graham and his wife Anne to come and stay with them at their house in Barbados. They showed us around the island and introduced us to the Hash House Harriers, which as far as I can make out is just some excuse for getting drunk on a Sunday afternoon. We took the yacht down the coast with Graham's good friend, another Graham, to where the 3 of them, Graham and Anne, had originally met a long time ago when they were trainee doctors. All 3 retired doctors insisted that I saw a skin specialist about the basal cell carcinomas on my chest. A doctor was found and surgery was arranged. Almost as we were leaving, Sandra discovered that a friend of hers lived in Barbados now, and we went and met. Although both Graham and Anne returned to the UK, they insisted that we stay on in their beautiful home while I was awaiting clearance from the doctor to continue. A very generous offer. We were soon on our way to Rodney Bay, St. Lucia, where we were expecting some parts to be there for us. They weren't, so we headed off south to Laboria to meet my good friend Ozzy, who had flown out to visit us. After Ozzy departed, we returned to Rodney Bay, where we explored the old British fort on the top of the hill. And we bumped into our friends Frederick and Anne, who we'd first met in Gran Canaria, back in the Canaries. Okay, the anchor is out of the water, the winch has done her job, and the sun's just coming up, and we're out of Rodney Bay.
Rodney Bay, goodbye.
We've arrived in Walilabu, something like that, which was the set for the Pirates of the Caribbean movie. We took a short tour in Walilabu, and on that tour we bumped into our friends buying an ice cream at the side of the road, Catherine and Steph, both from South Africa. We arranged with Catherine and Steph to walk up to the old watermill, now disused, but the mill pond is still there and one can swim in it.
So we're in the Blue Lagoon Marina. This is Blue Lagoon Marina, where we shall be enjoying for the next 2 days.
We went to a bar which I discovered was selling Bloody Marys without Leon Perne's Worcester sauce because they had run out. I went next door and bought my own bottle, much to the amusement of the barman. Our friends Steph and Catherine came across on their paddleboard, and we decided to go to the One Bar, a unique floating bar in the middle of the bay.
now arrived in beautiful Canary, another island in the Grenadines.
Very cool.
We went to the beautiful Tobago caves and swam with the turtles. And we moved on again. On the west side of Union Island, we found a beautiful beach bar where we had a lovely lunch.
We moved on to Carriacou and had a lovely lunch in Annecy La Roche. We moved on via Grenada to one of my favourite islands in the Caribbean, Tobago. I'd been to Tobago many times in my time with Monarch Airlines, and we hired a car and visited some of my old favourites, including Gemma's Kitchen and Eula's at Englishman's Bay. Okay guys, here we are, parked outside the Cocoa Reef Hotel, where I have stayed so many times with Monarch Airlines. Don't I bring you to the nicest place? At the south end of the island we did some more touring, including the Hummingbird Farm and the old Hilton where we used to stay originally with its crocodiles. Our good friend Mark, who we'd originally met in Mauritius, was already in Trinidad and got the ferry up to Tobago to come to Sunday school with us. Here we are, Chaguaramas Anchorage. We're actually on a buoy. Meanwhile, back in the UK, my grandchildren Una and Monty continued to grow. Steph and Catherine arrived at Chaguaramas and we got together with Mark to say goodbye to Sandra, who was heading off to South Africa to see her mum and family and friends. after 6 long weeks, I was happy to see Sandra back so that I could get off my starvation diet. Welcome, we're on the final approaches. How's it been?
Yes, it's been a long, long day. We're approaching our destination.
Well, here we are in Grenada. This is St. George's in here. We had a lovely time back in Grenada and really enjoyed the lovely clear blue water after the filthy dirty water that you get in Chagaramas. But all too soon it was time to move on. We had a final beach barbecue with friends we had met there. Well, Commodore, what's occurring?
Okay, today's Tuesday, the 12th of September, and we're now moving along, right?
Yep.
It's all about moving on.
We left Grenada and sailed to the nearest of the ABC islands, which is Bonaire. However, when we arrived, we discovered that because Sandra didn't have a Schengen visa, they wouldn't let us in, and we were forced to move on immediately. So we moved on to Curacao, where my cousin Mark has a home, but it turned out they wouldn't let us stay in Curacao either, so we had to move on. And we're leaving Caracas after being thrown out of our second country. So we're not going to bother trying Aruba. We decided not to bother trying Aruba and to head straight to Panama, but fate had other ideas. As we were passing Aruba, the starboard rudder fell off. We were forced to divert to Aruba for repairs. My good friend Hoppy and his wife Claire, whom I'd known from my days in the Air Force back in the 80s, had arranged to meet us in Curacao, but unfortunately, since we got thrown out of there, they had to reschedule to Aruba. After a while, we sourced new rudders and they eventually arrived. We prepared them for fitting, and Norbert on an adjacent yacht came and helped us to fit them. We invited him and his wife Sabine over for dinner by way of a small thank you. From leaving Grenada until we left Aruba, we sailed a further 562 nautical miles. Our friend Tamer, who we'd originally met in Phuket, Thailand, flew in from Istanbul to sail with us on the next leg to Santa Marta, Colombia. Well, Tamer, we're here. Where are we?
Yeah, it was some stress, but
Yes.
Santa Marta.
Tamer's Colombian friend Pilar joined us in Santa Marta. We explored the lively city of Santa Marta, and then we hired a car and drove to the old city of Cartagena. Okay, so we are parked now. We're a little bit close to this guy here, whose name is Lionel, and we met in South Africa back in 2022. We met him in Durban first and then again in Hout Bay. Amazing, what a small world. Anyway, the numbers, we've done 336 miles on the journey from Santa Marta. New friends Robert and Diane. we slowly made our way along the Panamanian coast to Shelter Bay Marina at the Caribbean end of the Panama Canal, to be there in time for Christmas.
The kind gentleman who checked us in, he said to me, "Madam, no swimming, no swimming. Crocodiles, only small ones." I said, "My God."
Oh dear. At long last, I had the carcinoma removed from my nose. We met Brown and Eileen from SV Blown Away, whose excellent video had helped us source our new rudders. We also met Travis and Christine. All four of them are now in the Pacific. Andre has sailed back across the Atlantic to the Mediterranean. While we were in Shelter Bay, we decided to have a solar arch fitted, which took a lot longer than we expected, but it was eventually ready.
So goodbye, Panama.
See you next time round.
See you next year. Good morning from Jamaica. We have just arrived, flat, calm seas. We are just busy unraveling something that's on the rudders. And managed to undoing that at the moment. All undone? That's what's come out. Just been training us and we managed to.
We sailed from Shelter Bay Marina, Panama to Jamaica via San Andreas, a small Colombian island. Pity about the water being so dirty, don't you think?
The water is what? Oh, it is perfect.
It took us 6 days to sail the 361 nautical miles from Jamaica to Great Anagua in the Bahamas. How is it, Mrs. W? Refreshing?
It's a bit hot.
Hello, Commodore. What's occurring?
Oh, I arrived at Farmers Cay, and it's stunning, beautiful, another beautiful island. It's crispy, fabulously crispy.
Mr. Piggy, no, you can't come in.
Hey, on you go.
One word from Sandra.
In Nassau, we caught up with Marcus and Charlene, whom I worked with many, many years ago in Sun City, which was great. We spent 1 month in the Bahamas, enjoying its beautiful pink sand beaches, powder blue waters. We could have stayed longer, but we had to move on.
In the month we stayed in the Bahamas, we sailed 700 nautical miles exactly. We moved on to Miami, Florida, where we met my good friend Diego. We had worked together in Etihad in the Middle East. We were very well looked after.
Whilst in Miami, we also managed to fit in a lunch with Donald Harrington, a colleague I used to work with in Sun City back in the 90s. It was short and sweet, but then again, it was time to move along.
We went to Cozumel because my cousin Jaime and his wife Lupe have a home there, and I had promised him we would visit. He was all ready with the Scottish Saltaire, that's the Scottish flag, up to go show us the way.
That is Jamie and Lupe, John's cousin and his wife. They've been fabulous. They've just been amazing. And now we're leaving them. Bye! Great fishing out here. This guy's in a hurry to go and catch his catch of the day. Lifting right off the water. This is just at the entrance of Rio Dolce, Guatemala.
Because we'd lost the furlough again, we had to motor sail from Cozumel all the way to Guatemala. The total distance was 347 nautical miles, and it took us 4 days. And, oh dear, let's start sawing or something as soon as I turn the camera on. This is the bar we came to yesterday evening for a quick drink after our arrival, and the swimming pool. Pretty cool. That's what we need. We stayed in Catamaran Marina for hurricane season, and then as the weather improved in November we headed to Belize, which we'd missed out on our way down from Cozumel. We spent Christmas and New Year in Belize, and our friends from Catamaran Marina, Marty and Annie, sailed to Belize and joined us for New Year. Really enjoyed Belize, but the prices there were somewhat higher than they were in Guatemala, not to put too fine a point on it. In January we returned to Guatemala to park the yacht at Catamaran Marina again, while Sandra and I headed off to South Africa for a couple of months. As soon as we were back, we headed out to another country. Sadly, my tracking device died and I'm unable to show you our track to the Cayman Islands. But we arrived just in time for Carnival, and we met our friends Norbert and Sabine. Norbert had helped us put the rudders on in Aruba back in 2023. We really enjoyed Grand Cayman and were sorry to leave, even though it was a bit on the pricey side. The sun is setting on our last night in the Cayman Islands. I have to say, I'm rather sad to be leaving. Okay, so it's now about 5:30, 6, and the sun is just rising. It's trying to poke its way above those trees on the horizon.
Hola, welcome to Cuba. Good morning from not so bad. And where are we? Cuba.
Thank you for watching episode 100 of Sailing Vessel Not So Bad. We hope you've enjoyed this slightly different episode. And if you have, please hit the like button. And join us next time when we start our tour of Cuba.